my name is Sarah, and welcome to the Bookish Knitter, and welcome to a weekly reading update. So first of all, this should have come out yesterday, but unfortunately, I got a little bit lazy on the weekend, and yesterday I was a bit busy, so you're getting the video today. So in these videos, I talk about all the books that I finished in the week before. So this is for week number 8, and it is February 17th through the 23rd. If you cannot tell, I have a cat on my lap, so this is becoming very difficult all of a sudden to do. She's trying to scratch at the laptop and it's sitting kind of precariously on the table in front of me, and this could end up being a disaster. So we're just going to go with it at this point because I've started this video a couple times. But anyway, all right, let's get into the video. So I had 3 finishes this week and I did DNF a book, and I'm going to talk about the DNF first just to kind of get it out of the way. So basically the book that I DNF'd this week was Eclair in Present Danger by Laura Bradford, which is the first book in the Emergency Dessert Squad series. I was reading this as part of a group read over on the Killing Time with Cozy's Discord group. And they're reading, it's a 3-book trilogy, Cozy Mystery Trilogy. And so they're reading like one in February, one in March, one in April. And I was really excited to join in because it sounded like a really fun little concept. But I just found I wasn't drawn into the book. I don't know what it was. It wasn't holding my attention. And I just wasn't jiving with it. I have no other way to say it. Like, if you're not enjoying a book and you're not enjoying the process of reading it, there's no point in reading it. You know what I mean? I was halfway through the book on the Sunday when it took me like a week to get halfway through the book. And it was like less than a 300-page book. That's not how that should have gone. I mean, I was reading other things and stuff like that as well. But still, I should have been wanting to pick it up, and I really wasn't. The other thing that bothered me, so the premise of the story is that our main character, Winnie, loses her bakery, and she ends up inheriting, like, this really old ambulance, and she decides to start a new kind of, like, bakery on the road using the ambulance as, like, emergency desserts. Like, if someone is having, like, a crisis, like their boyfriend broke up with them, or maybe, you know, they're celebrating something, like, oh, somebody got their driver's license, or, you know, whatever the case may be. Winnie will show up with like a special dessert with the fun name and whatever, and they bring it out like on the gurney or the stretcher, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, it's very much like themed kind of around this whole emergency with the ambulance. And the other thing that kind of bothered me, I think, coming off being in the hospital for 3 months and doing all the hospital stuff that I've been dealing with over the past year, 18 months, that wasn't, no. It's just like, it's a cute concept and I appreciate it and I really like the creativity behind it, but it just wasn't for me. So yeah, I ended up DNFing that one, and I'm fine with it. I do want to try Laura Bradford, so stay tuned for my March TBR that's coming out on Thursday, because I am going to try another one of her series and see if that jives a bit better with me. So we'll go from there. But anyway, what books did I actually finish this week? So like I said, I finished 3 books. So the first book that I finished was Power Play by Francine Pascal, the 4th book in the Sweet Valley High series. I gave this book 2.5 stars. I mentioned when I finished it, this is one of my least favorite books in the Sweet Valley universe. This is basically an entire book of fat shaming. So it's about our main character, the twins in this book, Elizabeth and Jessica, of course. They are always the main characters in these stories. But Robin is the new secondary character, and she made an appearance in the last book, and she is chubby, right? She's probably normal size. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, she's considered chubby, and they call her chubby and fatso and tubby and like all these things. And like, she's constantly eating, and isn't it disgusting, and blah, 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 blah. And she wants to be a member of the school sorority, and Jessica wants to keep her out because they have an image and they can't let a fat girl in. So anyway, Jessica basically blackballs her into not being able to be in the sorority. And Robin gets very upset, and then she ends up losing all this weight, and suddenly she's the most popular thing. And that's what bothered me. I think if the story had gone in a direction where she stayed who she was, not being necessarily unhealthy, but maybe getting a little bit healthier, but not getting super skinny. Like they kept saying, oh, she lost all the weight, now she's pretty. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell is that? So I think this would have even been bothersome in 1983. Is that when it came out? I think it was 83. 1984. This is, one of my least favorites, to be honest. I did like the comeuppance that Robin got to give everybody, like basically a big middle finger to the school, and good for her, but I don't think she should have had to have lost all this weight and, starved herself, it seems like in the book, in order to do that. You know what I mean? So yeah, this one is a bit more problematic. I mean, a lot of these are going to be as you're reading through them, but I like them. But anyway, I know that sounds weird, but I have a nostalgia to them. So I did want to mention, because it was asked of me by Liz over at Fairy Girl Library, where you can get these. Here's the issue. These are not available generally at the libraries. I have not found them on any of my library systems. I have not found them on Hoopla. I have not found them on Everand. They are not available. Now, you can get them as ebooks. So you could buy them as Kobo ebooks or as Kindle ebooks. Now, for Kindle, if you have Kindle Unlimited, books 1 through 12 you have to pay for, but 13 throughout the rest of the series are free on Kindle Unlimited. So you can read them that way if you have KU. That's how you can read these for free. But again, it's book 13 on. And all the special editions and the, extra books and stuff are not included. They were never made digitally. So the only way you're going to get those special books, the super specials and mysteries and stuff like that, you're going to have to purchase and hunt out like on thrift books or something like that, which is what I've been doing because I want to re-get this entire collection. Just for nostalgic purposes, basically. But yeah, so I wanted to mention that in case anybody else was curious and they I would like to read some of these, but to find them for free to read is very hard. I know for the Babysitters Club series, my library has all of them that I could potentially read, including the super specials and the mysteries and everything. And the Nancy Drew books, the Nancy Drew files, the ones that I'm reading, the 1980s books, they're available on Everand and as ebooks. And the only things, though, is the Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys books are not. Again, those were not made digitally. So those are also ones you'd have to hunt out in a physical format. But anyway, that's a side note. The next book that I finished this week was Ring in a Teacup by Betty Niels. This is Harlequin Romance number 2250, and this was from April of 1979. I gave this book 3 stars. I read this of course, for the Retro Romance Readathon. I wish I had gotten more books read for the Retro Romance. I guess you can consider all the Sweet Valley ones that I read retro, because they are, absolutely. And this was definitely cupcake on the spice rating. So basically, this is the story of Lucy and Fran. And this is very typical Betty Niels. I've been talking to a lot of you in the comments and watching other people's videos who have been reading Betty Niels over the course of this month for Retro Romance. And as well as the Category Romance Book Club, which, complete side note right now. I dropped the ball for March. There is no author pick for March for the Category Romance Book Club. We're skipping March and we're going to pick back up in April. So maybe for March for March Mystery Madness, maybe read an intrigue or a romantic suspense or a love-inspired suspense. There you go. But anyway, back to this book. So this is the story, like I said, of Lucy and Fran. And so very typical of Betty Niels. She is a nurse. He is a doctor. He's a consultant. And this starts out in England, and she is working in a hospital. And, the very beginning of the book, he's kind of doing this lecture, and she's a night shift nurse, and she falls asleep during the lecture. So he kind of calls her out on it, and it kind of starts like a little enemies thing between the two of them. So they end up continuously running into each other, and then she goes and spends some time in Amsterdam. A lot of Betty Niels' books take place in Amsterdam because her husband was Dutch. And so she's there. Fran ends up being there because he is Dutch as well. And, it's kind of their relationship. But the thing is that got me about this book is that this is not a romance that we're used to in today's day and age. There was very little time that these two characters spent together. They almost passed like ships in the night throughout most of the book until almost the end. Then all of a sudden it's like, I want to marry you. He like tells her like this, right? And she's like, well, me, but, and throughout the whole book too, she was plain, she was mousy, she was this. That's what they kept saying, you know what I mean? And again, it was written for the time of 79, you know what I mean? So, not mousy at all. Again, I think that cover, she looks like Mary Tyler Moore. That's just my opinion. But I mean, this was fun and I enjoyed it. I don't know if I want to read these back to back to back because these are not your typical romances of today, but it was so much fun to go down memory lane, and this felt older than 79 in my opinion. It felt like something like right from the 1950s or 60s. Maybe that's just my opinion, I don't know, but I thought it was really delightful, and I mean 3 stars. 3 stars for me is not a bad rating. I enjoyed it. I read for enjoyment. I am not a critical reader. I read because I enjoy it. If the book entertained me, it's going to get a 3 star. You know what I mean? And that's perfectly reasonable. So I'm super glad I read this one. And the last one that I read, I actually already did a short on. And I was going to include the short in this video, but I thought, let's just talk about it here. If you want to go back and watch that short, you can. I got this book from NetGalley, and this is Cursed in Love by Emily Collin. And I gave this book 3.5 stars, and this one had 2 chili peppers in terms of spice rating. So this is the story of Rune and Donovan. So this is a fantasy romance. I don't think it would be a romantasy. It's like a sci-fi. It's a witchy romance, I guess you would say. And there's so many sub-categories now. I have no idea how to label stuff anymore. It's kind of weird. So anyway, Rune is our main character, and she has this ability to see into the future and to see people's deaths. So the book opens up where she kind of tries to save this guy from getting hit by a bus, and then she ends up getting late to work, and she finds out when she's at work that she's now being put on this project with this guy, Donovan, that she does not, like, they butt heads right from the very beginning, right? He's very, kind of stick in the mud, if you will. Like, he likes things a certain way. Not stick in the mud, I shouldn't say that. He has his quirks, and he likes things his way. He's very organized, he's very, and that's fine. Where Rune tends to be a little chaotic, and he actually calls her chaos, right? But then, like, the second night, or the first night that they're together, like, they're working late on this project, they're, like, going at each other like rabbits, and I'm like, what the heck? So, like, one of my things, so I gave this 3.5 stars. I did like the book, but the whole thing is that they're trying to find out there's like these witches in town, and there's these ley lines, and all this weird stuff is happening. And, it's very, again, like, it's a witchy romance. But I felt that was more of the plot than the romance between Rune and Donovan. And this is supposed to be a romance. So that's the reason why it didn't get a higher star rating for me. I did enjoy it. But I felt the romance in this one was severely lacking, in my opinion. It seemed to be more, not, what do they say, like, insta-love? This was insta-lust. Definitely between the two of them. And that's what it felt like to me. Like, this was definitely more of a lust relationship than a romantic relationship. And the end few chapters with the big battle scene, if you will, with, like, the powers of good and evil, was pretty brutal. Like, it was not, it was bloody and gory, and, like, it wasn't just, like, sparks flying and people falling down. Like, people died, like, it was not pretty. But it was a good book. It was the first book I've read by this author. I don't think it is her first book, though. I might try another one by her, but again, some of these witchy romances I like, other ones I don't. What drives me crazy now, and anyone who's on the reading sprints with me knows, or my friends know this, if it's labeled, if you like the Gilmore Girls, or if this is the Stars Hollow kind of, stop, please, publishers, stop comparing everything to A, the Gilmore Girls, B, Bridgerton, C, Colleen Hoover. Like, Gilmore Girls came out like a million years ago, like, it's not the new show. I know people love it and rewatch it and rewatch. I never understood the appeal. And this is not a shot on Gilmore Girls. But the fact of the matter is, it's like, if you like Gilmore Girls, you'll like this. No, you won't. This is nothing like, I've watched the first season of the Gilmore Girls. This is not Gilmore Girls. It takes place in a small town. So you're telling me every single small town romance is just like Gilmore Girls? I don't think so. So this is what, and same with Regency romances. Not every Regency romance is like Bridgerton. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, sorry, that's my little vent. Drives me insane. And I just don't like Colleen Hoover. So that's why I'm like, stop comparing things to Colleen Hoover. But anyway, yeah. So I did enjoy this one. It does get spicy, but it doesn't get spicy till the very, very end. Like, it's almost like the last chapter. Like, they threw it in there. No pun intended. They threw it in there just for... I'm gonna get canceled. They threw it in there just, like, because she's like, oh, I should really put a love scene in here. Now, like I said, like, they were doing something in the office, but it was just basically a big makeout session. Like, there was no, like, adult content. There was nothing like, it was no, like, behind closed doors. Nobody was getting naked or anything like that. But, anyway, I liked it. So thank you to NetGalley and the publisher for sending it my way to read. But anyway, guys, that's all that I have. I hope you enjoyed this. To be fair, I have not even had a sip yet of coffee. So this is me coffeeless. So cheers this morning, you guys. But yeah, that's what I read this week or last week. Let me know what you guys read last week. Have you read any of these books? What did you think about them? And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.